I'd like to call to order the special meeting of the Groton Town Council Committee of the Whole. It's Tuesday, December 18th. All councilors are present. Calendar and communications. Councilor Baumgartner.
So last week I attended the Groton 2020 architectural presentation for the new middle school. It was a really great presentation. I'm pretty convinced the kids are going to love it, and look forward to seeing the progress in the months ahead.
Councilor Parker.
All right. I also attended the Groton 2020 presentation. I went to SEC TV Studios annual Christmas party, which was a very nice event. And I attended the Groton Community Meals holiday event.
Councilor Franco, I know you're not feeling well. Do you want to give communications?
Yeah, I'll be quick. I went to the grand opening of the Century 21 Shutter and Sales down in Mystic. I attended the SEC TV holiday party and the Groton Community Meals, and also the military holiday cocktail party at the Nautilus Museum.
Councilor Heath.
All right. I also attended the Groton 2020 presentation on the middle school. That was really fantastic. On Wednesday, I attended the Conservation Commission, and they talked about 3 subjects. One of them is there is a survey that's now on our town website on plastics. They also talked about greenways, like connecting different areas, waterways and greenways for animals to travel. A little surprisingly, they talked about climate change and the impact on Groton. Apparently, there's a Congressional Research Service report that says Connecticut is the state that's going to have the second biggest impact to climate change, with sea level rise and temperature changes and all that. Kind of interesting, but it's not all bad news. There's, it's opportunities, so it's challenges and opportunities. And I'll get to where that comes in a second. Right after that, I went to the RTM, and they seated a new person, Jen DeCillier, filled a vacancy in District 7. On Thursday night, then, I attended the Shellfish Commission, and that was really interesting. If you haven't been, they manage the shellfish beds within town waters, but beyond that, the state is managing shellfish beds. Actually, there's a lot of pollution, and with the warming waters, the shellfish and the lobsters are moving out of the sound towards eastern Connecticut. I guess eventually there's going to be a little bit more aquaculture industry out there. So I thought that was really interesting, and they talked about some of the contamination that they see in the shellfish. They measure for, and this was totally new to me, so I'll share it. They measure for E. coli as the contamination. It's like a marker in the shellfish, and it doesn't mean that the shellfish is necessarily polluted, but it means that other pollutants, if E. coli gets in the shellfish, everything else can get in the shellfish too. So they've seen a lot of new contamination, they think, coming from like the Grasso Tech area. And so they suggested that as we go forward with our middle schools, that we keep an eye on the silt fences. Because normally the silt fences get put up at the beginning of construction, and then they're just left. And as time goes on, trucks back over them, water washes over them. So I took a walk around Grasso Tech, and there are a couple of spaces where the fences could probably be put back up, but it didn't look like it was in particularly bad shape. So just thought that was interesting. Then tonight we had I also attended the Stuff a Cruiser in the city. And then tonight we had the appointments and reappointments committee. So busy week.
Thank you. Councilor Aubry.
I gave my time to Conrad.
Councilor Atwater.
I attended the Groton 2020 school report, and I attended the SCARA, the recycle meeting. They're working on a new contract, which is coming up soon. The cost of getting rid of trash is becoming very expensive. I went to a Connecticut CCM, Connecticut Council of Municipalities seminar on sustainability, which was very interesting. I think that's something we should really pursue. And I just wanted to comment that the traffic light at the intersection of Route 1 and Groton Long Point Road, the green light is burned out, and it's been that way for a couple of days, and I don't know who's responsible to, whether it's the state or, well, I don't know if it's the town that does it or the state.
I'll notify them.
The state does it or whatever, but it's been out at least since Sunday, so. That's
Thank
it.
you. Counselor Schmidt?
Oh, I attended the Appointments and Personnel Committee just before this meeting. That's it.
No report.
Thank you. It was a busy week. First, I just wanted to say thank you for everyone who turned out to vote in the special referendum. And we will be moving ahead with the Build New for the schools. So it's the will of the people. I think it was a good decision, and I think will benefit the students in the future. I also attended the presentation on the new schools that was provided by the construction team, Permanent School Building Committee. We had correspondence, the whole council had correspondence from Roger Coons, who is talking to us about sustainability and environmental impact, and we'll be meeting with him. We'll be inviting him to a meeting probably in January or February, depending on how our agenda is looking. I attended the holiday reception at the Nautilus that Captain White Scarver hosted for local officials, including Representative Conley and Senator Summers. And I had a meeting with Mayor Hedrick, our normal monthly meeting, and internal meetings with the manager. Approval of minutes. So we are starting with Councilor Baumgartner again, please. And this is on page 2.
So I'll make a motion to accept the Town Council Committee of the Whole minutes of November 27th, 2018. Are hereby accepted and approved. So moved.
Second.
Moved by Baumgartner and seconded by Zepari. Any discussion on the minutes beginning on page 2? Or minutes beginning on page 3, rather. I'll give you a minute to take a look. Did you have something, Councilor Atwood? Okay, seeing no discussion, all those in favor of accepting the minutes of November 27th, 2018, Cow, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? So moved unanimously. On to new business. We are going to start with item 5E, which is 2018-563 Connecticut Department of Agriculture Farm Viability Grant, and this is on page 63. Sorry about that, Councilor Parker, to bounce you around. But we have a, let's see.
Would you like me to read the background on the front?
I'm trying to see if there's a different resolution. I think we don't have a
I
formal
don't see a
resolution, so
resolution.
you can recommend for a resolution.
I make a motion to recommend a resolution accepting the farm viability grant.
Is there a second? Moved by Parker and seconded by Heed. And we have two people with us this evening. I don't know if you wanted to come up and talk at all, or Mr. Byrd, did you want to discuss this?
I'll give the quick background and then if there's any questions. The town was awarded a farm viability grant through the Department of Agriculture, Connecticut Department of Agriculture, in the amount of $47,990. The main purpose is to re-outfit a research vessel to use it as a veteran training platform for aquaculture and to develop a training course. Funds will be used to ensure the vessel is safe for operations with passengers on board. A lot of work to be done to the boat, but the four main objectives of the project is: 1, re-outfit and repurpose a donated work vessel into a floating classroom, develop a new training course in marine aquaculture production methods, conduct 2 pilot tests of the training course, revise course content based on participant evaluation. And we have Mark Carroll, who's the one taking on the main task, as well as Tessa Getchis from UConn Avery campus there, if you do have any questions. But their application that they submitted to the state is in here. It has a lot of details. The total cost of the project is $95,990. The rest of the funds come from match. No outlay from the town.
Okay, I know Councilor Obrey has questions. Go
I was
ahead.
just wondering, is this the program that I read about that you were going to be doing work with oysters?
Yes.
Could you please come up to the table, please? We have to use the microphones. We can hear you in the room, but they're recording, and in order for the public to hear, it has to be fed through the microphones. If you could just introduce yourselves, please. Thank you.
I'm Tessa Getchis from Connecticut Sea Grant, based at the University of Connecticut. And my name is Mark Harrell. I'm an oyster farmer here in Noank.
I read the article, I was very impressed with it, and I think what you're attempting to do is great, and I'm happy we'll be able to help in a small way.
Thank you.
I hope that as it goes along, maybe you'll come back and talk with us about it, so that we'll
Absolutely.
know how it's going and how successful it is. But great program.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Do any other Councilors of Perry?
Who will own the boat?
I own the boat, sir. So the vessel was donated through an organization called Work Vessels for Veterans, and it was donated to, the boat actually came from the Millstone Power Plant. They used it to study not only oysters and shellfish, but they used it to study different fisheries in Long Island Sound.
So you will retain ownership of the boat?
Yes, sir.
And you're getting public money to refurbish it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And do you have a curriculum set up for the people who will come to learn aquaculture from you?
I don't have a strict curriculum as of yet. That's actually part of the training that I want to accomplish with just the vessel itself, is to actually develop a curriculum where new veteran oyster farmers want to, I want to kind of create a path for them to either be employed or to maybe even start their own business.
Okay. And how many veterans do you have who are interested in signing up for this?
I've probably got 4 or 5 just right now that have contacted me personally after seeing the news that I had gotten a research vessel.
And will you be operating this program under any department of the town of Groton?
So I'd be working with the Groton Shellfish Commission. But as far as any other agency, I don't believe so.
Okay. And who will you be responsive to? Who will be your supervisor in this project?
As far as I know, I'd be my own supervisor.
Okay. What are the personnel requirements for operating this program?
Really, it can be done. It can't really be done single-handedly. You do need, other. And my whole goal is to have other veterans like myself be a part of this program. So nothing can be really done single-handedly. You really need some folks that have that type of work ethic and ability that you get in the service. And the whole idea is that all of us kind of working together can create our own veteran-run oyster farm.
It's often said that a boat is a hole in the water into which you pour money. What kind of arrangements do you have for the maintenance of this boat after it's...
So I've had a life at sea ever since I was a young man. I've been on the water, and I've been around boats my entire life, and I'm very familiar with that. On top of that, I'm actually working with, I've got the support of the Noank Aquaculture Cooperative, as well as Jim Marco of Mystic Oysters and Norm Bloom and Son, who are, these are some of the largest.
Are they going to provide you with money to maintain the boat?
Not really provide me with money, but they're allowing me to have dock space, to have the ability to store equipment, the expertise that comes with, maintaining a vessel for that type of vessel.
Will the boat have to be hauled for the winter?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I really do need to haul it out. And
who will cover the expense for that?
I'm sorry, sir?
Who will cover the expense for that?
More than likely, I'll cover the expense.
Personally?
Yes, sir. I did put it into the actual grant application to hopefully have some of those funds.
Now, there's a $47,000 grant you're looking for.
Yes, sir.
And then there's $48,000 in matching funds. Where does the $48,000 come from?
That comes from the use of the vessel, as well as a small salary that I'd be.
Comes from what?
Matching.
The second it's a $97,000 project, and you're getting $47,000 in a grant. and it calls for $48,000 matching contribution. Who's giving you the $48,000 match?
I'm going to chime in for a second. If you look on page 73 of the packet, there's a line there that specifically addresses that, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. It says the matching funds, $48,000, are resulting from the working vessel donated to the contractor for this project, Mr. Mark Harrell, and contribution of labor by the contractor. Is that accurate, Mr. Burke? Did you want to jump in with anything?
I was going to say exactly that. He
Okay.
owns the vessel, that counts as match for $35,000, and then his time is worth $13,000 for match.
So it's in kind?
It's in-kind match, right. It's not,
Right.
he didn't need to actually provide cash. And I will note that the Department of Agriculture told me they're very excited about this. It's not often you get the full request amount. They think this is a very much a needed program.
I like the program and the idea of it. I'm a little reluctant to assign public funds to a boat that's owned privately. And that bothers me a great deal. And I'm also concerned that there haven't been enough plans made for the maintenance of the boat. I mean, it's sort of loosely organized, nor is there a clear indication of the need for the boat. You say you have 4 or 5 veterans who are interested now, but you want the state to pay, you want somebody to pay $97,000 to get it underway. And you're not even sure with what you're going to do with it. I have some problems with this particular program.
So if
And
I may,
forgive me for, don't mean to be rude to you, and I don't mean to denigrate your contribution as a veteran or to make small your attempt to do something significant. But I don't see that it's well planned, and I'm concerned about it.
Ms. Getz, why don't you
sure,
speak and
if I
then
may,
Councilor Keith.
these types of grants are awarded to agriculture producers across the state, and typically they're for either municipalities working with agriculture producers or producers themselves to demonstrate some sort of technology or some sort of training program. So they are given for this purpose. We also provide training to aquaculture producers in the state, so we're working directly with Mark on this program, and there is a strong need for training, and especially on the water training. So I just wanted to put that out there. So we're helping him develop the curriculum. We have seafood safety training that we offer through our office. The state has other programs that they offer. This is sort of one of those areas where there's a gap in available training. Mark's starting small with veterans, but we plan on expanding that with other underserved audiences.
And the other thing, I'm sorry.
I was just going to add, in terms of only having 4 or 5 people yet, he hasn't advertised it out yet. Those are just people that reached out to him. He had to know he was going to get the grant and get to move forward, and then he'll advertise it out and get more people to it. So he hasn't really tried yet, my understanding, to get more involved.
And we will help him advertise as well. So we have a listserv of prospective producers that come to us. We basically help them with business planning, with site selection, and then what's happening is we're often referring them to agencies and organizations outside of the state. So they go to Rhode Island for this kind of training. We'd really like to keep it local. Starting here is great because we already have an aquaculture cooperative right in town, so we have local expertise, and we can use this as a pilot program, and then I'm anticipating it being very successful, and then we can branch out from here and hopefully train people across the state. So again, even though this is Mark's starting a nonprofit for the educational process, this could really be a profitable business where he is training people, and again, something that we can use to then pilot and replicate across the state. So it is quite important. This is a growing industry. Our capture fisheries are in massive decline for the most part, with few exceptions, but aquaculture is an important industry here in the state and in the region for seafood production. So we're hoping that we can work with the Shellfish Commission as we have in the past and continue to work with these businesses for jobs and economic development.
So the grant has already been awarded, correct? So if we would choose not to accept the grant, the money would go back to the state and someone else would apply for it?
Correct.
Okay. Councilor Heaton and Franco.
You've actually already answered my questions at this point with that last bit. But I'll just say that I think it's a very impressive program, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Councilor Franco.
My question is if Mr. Harrell is basically a private business owner and as a nonprofit, and he requested the grant, why does he need to go through the town to receive it?
Because it has to go through a municipality. And this is common. There's been other ones that have gone through Stonington and other municipalities. This is a pretty common process.
So without the town, he wouldn't be able to accept it? Okay. Thank you.
Any other counselors have questions or comments? Counselor Over.
Well, it looks to me like you were smart enough with somebody's assistance to put in for this grant, and you seem to have it broken down quite well as to where the monies are going to go. And it may be something new, but I think it's something that is going to grow into something. I kind of think this is like a little cocoon situation to grow into something bigger. And I think it's great that you put in for it, and I hope Groton can help you make this happen.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone else who wants to speak first before we go back to Councilor Perry? Okay, it's you again, sir.
Mr. Britt, what kind of liability does the town incur for this?
No liability as long as, I mean, we'll make sure all the money flows correctly. Me and Cindy have been looking at the right way to do it.
So if this goes belly up, will the town have any liability for it?
No, I mean, not as long as we handle the money correctly, as long as we check that invoices are paid and that we're reimbursing and that everything's done correctly on our end, just like any other grant.
Okay, seeing no further discussion, we will vote on (2018-563) Connecticut Department of Agriculture Farm Viability Grant. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? So moved unanimously. Thank you very much and good luck in your endeavors.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, we are going on to item 5A, and we have Dr. Grenier here this evening. This is 2018-572, authorization of a supplemental appropriation to the Board of Education for FYE 2019. And this is on page 11, and I believe we're on Counselor Park. No, Counselor He. I'm not slighting Counselor Franco. She requested not to read because she's not feeling well. Counselor He.
I'll make a motion to recommend a resolution authorizing a supplemental appropriation of $17,683 to the Board of Education for fiscal year 2019.
Second.
Moved by Heed and seconded by Parker. Good evening, Dr. Grenier. Do you want to fill
Good
us
evening.
in on what we have here before us, please?
Yes, last year, following Hurricane Maria, as you know, several students from Puerto Rico, and actually one of the islands, Martinique, had students come to Connecticut, and we filed a report. This actually came as a surprise to me when I received this letter. We had 14 students come. Most of them were non-native speakers of English, so we purchased some supplies and we provided additional staff time for our English language learners, ELL, teachers and tutors, and the legislature. I guess I'm sorry I wasn't aware of it at the time. The legislature appropriated monies based on the number of students. So some communities got really sizable amounts, but Groton was awarded $17,683. So when that happens, when the ECS goes up, the ECS grant goes up, then that gets added to the minimum budget requirement, the MBR. So Kathy Dempsey, the chief financial officer, wrote and said I needed to notify her by January 1st if the town was going to make this appropriation, which, as I say, I did not know we needed to make. And then it goes on to say that the penalty is a 200% fine that would be levied in the FY21 ECS grant. They would deduct about $35,000 from the grant. So obviously it would be in the town's best interest to receive this money. certainly be in the town's best, it'd be in the board's best interest.
If you look on page 13 regarding the MBR, it's telling us that it's the department's interpretation that in the event that the legislature does not reauthorize this funding for 2019-2020, municipalities would not be required to make up this funding with local funding in 2019-20. So it's not necessarily going to raise the MBR for next year. I know, I realize it's a small amount, but I know everyone's always concerned with MBR. Unless the state reauthorizes it, we're not going to be held liable for it in the MBR. Mr. Burton.
The finance director can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's been hard to get a straight answer from the state on this, but the thinking is that it's not necessarily going to lead to higher MBR, but I think we haven't had confirmation from the state. Is that right? But that's what we believe. Do you have anything to?
Finance Director Landry is here. And then the other question I had was, is it coming from contingency? And then we have Councilor Schmidt.
I think that's the intent. Cindy, is the intent to come out of contingency for the 17th?
No, supplemental can come out of fund balance.
Fund balance. Thank you. Director Landry is here with us.
I just want to get my papers in order here.
Certainly.
I had tried, when we got the letter back in November, to reach out to the state on numerous times. I left voicemails and emails, and fortunately, just this morning, I was able to talk to Kathy Dempsey. And the way she explained it to me is the legislation that created the funding for the displaced students was placed in the ECS line item. And she said that was not an ideal way to handle it, because typically if you receive, being an alliance district, if you receive more ECS funding, it goes directly to the boards of education. That way it does not increase your bottom line. But she said, as she said in her letter, that unless the legislation reappropriates specific money for displaced students again, the town would not have to include this in MBR for their 2020 budget.
Thank you. Councilor Schmidt, you had a question.
Oh, I wondered if the 14 students are still in our system.
No, they returned to their homes.
But that was a rather small amount for 14 additional students.
It was. I know some communities had hundreds and hundreds of students, and so there was significant, for the towns you would expect. Hartford, for example, received a huge amount.
Councilor Zafari?
Supposedly this was because they had increased the school population. Have we had another decrease in the school population this year?
I don't have, I think the decrease very slightly, literally a couple of dozen students.
And how did those 14 kids do?
Well, to be truthful, they were here for a short period of time. I think they did well in that we were able to continue their education. We have some bilingual teachers, so we were able to continue that. I spoke to a couple of people. One went back to Martinique, and they of course moved in with relatives. That's why there were so few students. But I think they did well, and they registered, and then as things got better in Puerto Rico and the islands, they moved back.
Councilor Aubry?
So, bear with me. Did they send the money to the town?
They did.
So now the town has to give the money to the Board of Education?
That's right.
Is that correct?
Or pay the fine, the 200% fine.
Why would we be paying the fine?
Only
If we
if you
don't
didn't
give
pay.
them the
Only
money.
if you don't give it.
Oh, I understand.
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking, why is he saying that? Okay, no, I just was trying to get the process down in my
Right.
mind. The fact that the state sends the money.
They increased the ECS grant to the town, and there's a long history to this. Whenever there's an increase, the legislature expects the money to be allocated to the board. So what they say is if it's not allocated to the board, then this is kind of a stock letter that we received.
Okay, but that's not the way normally that it's done?
Well, we haven't received an increase in ECS for many years.
Okay. Let's say they gave you some money for something else. Would it normally come to the Board of Education, or would it come to the town?
Normally it comes to the town.
Okay,
the
so
town
what we're
general fund.
doing is pretty standard?
Yes, oh, yeah.
Okay, that's what I was trying to get to.
Counselor Heed.
Somewhat related to it, but not necessarily directly. In the event that there are more hurricanes and there's more displacement, do we have a plan to identify the students earlier so that we know they're here?
Well, we knew they were here immediately. And yes, we do have a plan. We have kind of a triage. We have our bilingual ELL, English Language Learner teachers, interview the students, whatever their language, and we immediately place them in classes to support them, whether it's at the elementary, middle, or high school level. We knew about the students, and we took care of the students immediately. I just didn't know about the money coming. That's what I meant.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
And can I just add, the legislation that set aside this money was only effective July 1st of 18. That's why we're getting it so late after the fact.
Did Trump know about this?
I'm not going to make any comment.
Thank you. Any other counselors have
He's
questions?
in enough trouble.
For Dr. Grenier or Director Landry? Counselor Baumgartner.
So far throughout your time in your respective roles, would you say the minimum budget requirement sort of every year, depending on sort of what happens, whether it's Hurricane Maria or another instance, can be somewhat problematic for you throughout the year as you're kind of assessing the finances?
The only way it would be problematic is, as Cindy said, if they decide to put it in the ECS grant, because that's the one grant that has this provision. It could have been in many other grants, and it would have just either flowed right to the town without any requirement, or came to the board with just as a straight pass-through. ECS is sort of unique, and so I would anticipate they may not next year give us that additional 17,000. So then the MBR would, in fact, my understanding, return to where it is right now.
Typically, the town has not had an issue of meeting the MBR. We've always exceeded it quite frequently over the years.
Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, I'll call for a vote on 2018-572, authorization of a supplemental appropriation to the Board of Education for FYE 2019. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? So moved unanimously. Thank you very much.
In the spirit of the grant, which was Scottish.
Okay, we are on to 5B, 2018-536, Memorandum of Agreement, 2018 State Homeland Security Grant Program Funds on page 16. Counselor Aubry. There's a motion.
Motion to recommend a resolution to approve Town Manager John Burrett act on behalf of the Town of Groton with respect to receipt and use of a 2018 State Homeland Security Grant Program funds to support regional set-aside projects and to approve him to execute said memorandum of agreement.
Second.
Memorandum of agreement.
Moved by Aubry and seconded by Schmidt, and it's contagious. And Chief Fasaro is with us this evening. Chief, did you want to tell us a little bit of background on the grant, please?
Good evening. Yes, this the fiduciary agent for this is the Southeastern Council of Governments. Essentially, what this is to maintain equipment and items that have been put in the care and custody of the town of Groton that we use on a regional basis. We have some trailers, message boards, things of that nature. And this memorandum of agreement allows us to use funds from the the Division of Emergency Management and Homeland Security that come through the region in order to maintain that equipment that we've got.
Are there questions, or Mr. Burke, did you want to add anything to this? Are there questions for the chief? Councilor Aubry.
Could you elaborate a little bit on the equipment?
Yeah, most of the municipalities that are part of the Region 4, the Demis Region 4, share some resources. For instance, there's a communications vehicle that's housed in East Lyme. There's some message boards, trailers, things like that that are housed here in Groton. Occasionally, they'll need maintenance, they'll need repairs, things of that nature. The money is set aside from DEMIS to C.O.W, and the Regional Emergency Planning Team, of which I'm a part, kind of identifies what the needs are. So we go out and we purchase items that are authorized on the list that comes out from DEMIS, and that FEMA ultimately governs. And we use it for emergencies. So if someone needs a message board and we have it here in the town of Groton and maybe they need it sprayed, they come up, they get it, or we assist in transporting it there, and vice versa. If there's an item somewhere else in this region, we get that and have use of it as well. But those that have the care and custody of it are charged with ensuring its maintenance. But the funds don't come from the town, they actually come from the grant that this MOA allows us to participate in.
And it's going to be for how much?
I don't believe there's funds tied to this right now. It's just a memorandum of agreement saying that we would participate. And we've participated in the past. It's common, but there is an MOA required for it.
Are we Region 4?
We are.
357,659?
Throughout the whole region.
So our share of whatever that would be. Were there any other counselors with questions for the chief on this item? Counselor Baumgartner.
What is the criteria used by the police department to assess, what, whether it's whatever equipment's used to, best benefit the region as a whole?
It's done in collaboration. It's part of the Regional Emergency Planning Team. It isn't the police department, it's the emergency management function. And it's done collaboratively. We have several working groups through the emergency support functions. We decide what is needed in each particular area. And there's subcommittees set up. It's not unique to Groton. It's, again, a collaborative effort throughout the whole region. And it's kind of run by a combination of both the Council of Governments, again, as the fiduciary agent, but also with the Region 4 director from the Division of Emergency Management and Homeland Security. So it's a collective, collaborative effort, and we look at things that are necessary for Homeland Security, and it's really done in concert with other communities and community leaders.
Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, we will vote on 2018-536 Memorandum of Agreement 2018 State Homeland Security Grant Program Funds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? So moved unanimously. Thank you. And we are on to, we're going to take item 5I now since the chief is here. So this is 2018-579 State of Connecticut Office of Policy and Management Justice Assistance Grant. Counselor Atwater, this is the last page, which is 102. Thank you. Thank you, Counselor Smith.
I make a motion to recommend a resolution to approve Town Manager John Burt to accept the State of Connecticut Office of Policy and Management's Justice Assistance Grant in the anticipated total state grant amount of $15,000.
Second.
Moved by Atwater and seconded by Parker. Chief?
This is another, this in itself is a grant. The Justice Assistance Grant is actually a federal program from the Department of Justice. It's administered through the state's Office of Policy and Management. In fact, we have not received this grant in several years, not just the town of Groton, but any police department in the state of Connecticut. There's an allocation and there's a formula that's based on some metrics that are used by OPM that they run through the Connecticut Police Chiefs Association to decide where this money goes. In some communities, some of the larger municipalities, Hartford, Bridgeport, New Haven, they get direct funding of JAG monies from the federal government. Most other communities in the state of Connecticut get it through OPM, where it's allocated out based on some formulas they've come up with. So a couple of months ago, the Police Chiefs Association really pushed hard to find out where this money had been, why we had not received it. This is actually money from a few years ago. It was held up for a variety of reasons. OPM had decided to wait until they had enough funding over the course of a couple of years to send it out to departments across the state so that they could make better use of it rather than smaller amounts. They wanted to get it in aggregate. So Back in October, we, the Executive Board of the Police Chiefs Association, met with members of OPM, discussed some possible uses of this, and they've allocated. More will be coming in the future, but this is money that comes directly from the federal government through the state to police departments to be used for a variety of projects. We selected a project that we think best serves the department and the town. It fits within the parameters of the JAG grant, but it also utilizes that amount of money that's available to us, and that's the purchase of a new license plate reader. Ours are outdated, several years old, and quite frankly never functioned probably optimally. So that's what we've used. And the other thing I might add is I got to give some compliments to Deputy Chief Gately and Captain Sinatra. When the first discussion of this happened about a year and a half ago, they went on behalf of our department, but actually through their efforts in explaining Groton in the departments that work here was able to garner funds for all of the departments here, Groton, Long Point, Groton City. So having that meeting was productive for all of us in Groton. In fact, it netted more monies to all three of us.
Any questions for the chief on this? Councilor Ober.
How many cars will we be able to put this equipment into?
One.
Do we have any that are still working that maybe would be in others?
No, we're sunsetting those. They're the ones that we have. We have 2 of them in the fleet. They're not functional. We're looking to get rid of those. It's older technology, and it wasn't really the best technology anymore. So we won't be currently using those older models.
How do you think that you'll select the automobile that it might go in?
It's going to go into the newest vehicle in the fleet, so we'll have it around for a while.
Okay. Are you anticipating trying to have more in the future?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilor Baumgartner.
I know the body cameras are high users of data. Do the license plate readers require, a similar amount of power?
They do. We're looking to work with the
Storage?
state. The state wants departments across the state to utilize the servers that they have. That's what we're planning on doing. It's efficiency, but it also is a better use of the data.
And does the state take good safeguards to protect data?
Yes, absolutely. They operate within parameters governed by not just state policy, but certainly information sharing, CGIS, all the things that they're required to do.
Great.
Yeah, very good handling of data.
Thank you.
One more.
Oh, Councilor Ober.
Does this just find out who owns the plate, or does it say if the plate is expired, or what kind of information?
It does, stolen vehicles, tax liens, things of that nature, if it's wanted or suspected of being involved in a crime.
And does it do the expiration?
It does.
It does. Okay, I guess that officer wasn't lying to me.
Councilor Heed.
Alrighty then. Just interested, where would we be able to get statistics on crime in Groton in the direction of like different kinds of crimes? Are they going up, down, that kind of thing?
State puts that out every year. We provide that information to the state of Connecticut. They provide it to the federal government. That's available, uniform crime reports. And we track through NIBRS codes now too, so I get an update every couple of months that comes from the state. Unfortunately, some of that they do not allow us to share because they, at times I've tried to share it and asked to share it, but some of the data hasn't quite yet been vetted to make sure it's completely accurate, so we'll get updates. But we do get that data, and we provide it annually during the budget process as well.
Thank you.
Seeing no further questions, all those in favor of 2018-579 State of Connecticut Office of Policy and Management's Justice Assistance Grant, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? So moved unanimously. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Have a great Christmas and Happy New Year.
You too.
Same to you.
All right, so we are on to, I believe, Councilor Schmidt, and we will be at 5C, 2018-423, alteration of a scenic road, Sandy Hollow Road. Mystic Hollow re-subdivision, and this is on page 27, please.
Make a motion to recommend a resolution to approve the alterations to a scenic road, Sandy Hollow Road, for the following reasons. The proposed work does not encroach on or change the width, paving, or grade of Sandy Hollow Road. The proposed driveway will not change the character or adversely impact the neighborhood. The proposed alterations are necessary to provide safe sightlines from the driveways. I so move.
Second.
Moved by Schmidt and seconded by Atwater. And we had a presentation at our public hearing. Are there any further questions or discussion? Mr. Burke, yes.
I was just going to add that I talked with our attorney, and she just wanted to have me pass on that any discussion among the council should restrict itself to the road and the scenic views, not go into the houses or layout or anything else on the property. It has to stick to trees and walls, that type of thing. So.
Okay. Any discussion? Councilor Atwater.
Does that mean we can't discuss access onto the road?
The access, you could, yeah.
Because I raised the question the
And,
last
well, more
time.
in terms of would it cut down trees? Would it, more in terms of those physical aspects of the scenic road? But in terms of traffic flow, those type of things, no, that's not in the purview of this.
We have to go to planning for that?
And it's already gone
And it's
through
already
planning,
gone through
right.
planning.
We're the final step then, is that?
Correct. That's my understanding, John. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I guess I'm not understanding if you take down a stone wall to put a driveway out into the road, is that something we can
You
discuss
could talk
or
about
not?
the removal of that, certainly of that wall, right?
I raised the question at the last meeting about the fact that there were 5 driveways. Could they be combined? And I believe I was told that he would come back to me with that information, which I never received. And I still don't understand why 5 driveways are more efficient and would, quote unquote, less hamper the scenic view by coming out onto the road than if you had 2 driveways or 3 driveways. So that's my only concern.
Did you want Mr. Reiner?
John, you want to come
Mr.
up?
Reiner, could you come up, please? Thank you.
Good evening.
Mr. Atwater's question?
This is not a town application. I actually feel uncomfortable defending this or answering questions on behalf of an applicant in their proposal. I can tell you that this issue was brought up before the Planning Commission of minimizing driveways, and the Planning Commission found that they supported the project as it was. So this is not an application. Scenic roadways is not something that's generally initiated by the planning department. It's something that it's a council ordinance. It's not something that we usually aren't defending applications or speaking in favor or against applications for that. I think the applicant's here tonight. That might be a better person to ask questions of.
Can I just ask, was there a public hearing as part of the planning process?
There was a public
Besides
meeting.
our public hearing.
I don't think it was an actual public hearing.
No, there was a public hearing.
Oh, there was? Okay.
I think there was one.
Councilor Atwater, did you wish to speak to the applicant at all?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. Councilor Heed had questions if you're finished. Councilor Heed?
What exactly are the options for the council? Like, what would the guidance be?
Only approve or deny.
All right.
And does this fall, if it were denied, this could be considered takings?
Well, I don't want to speak to the legality, but,
Okay.
We've spoke before, it's not the best written ordinance, and it's on the planning on planning's to-do list to review this. My thought is I'd rather see this, a lot of towns put this under the planning commission purview so you could look at the layout and this at the same time. I'd like to see something like that done in the future, but it's on the to-do list.
Is that something that the town has the power to do? We could change the scenic road things and place it with planning rather than
I looked at
separate?
about probably 12 to 15 other towns' ordinances. They all are about 90% the same. You can tell they took all the same template. But I'd say all but about 3 of those have the planning commission do the review. Only about 3 or so had the town council do it. Okay. And then a couple of them had actually some parameters of what you should look at. You know, it's really vague now. There's really no guidance on what to look at for approval or denial. A couple of the ones I found did have some parameters, so I've passed those on to planning to review and come back at a later date for future applications that are, you know, for this ordinance to make some recommendations to the council. But it doesn't help us right now. So.
Right. Are you through, Councilor? Councilor Perry, and then back to Atwater.
As I recall, there was a public hearing, and at the public hearing, the issue of having the houses have conjoined driveways, so there'd only be one opening, half as many openings onto the road, was raised. And as I remember, we were satisfied at that time with the explanation we were given, and I think it was, and contractor is here now, I think it was because it would require displacing the position of the houses to such a point that they would be crowding, 2 houses would be crowding on each other. It would eliminate, it would restrict the free space between the houses. Am I correct to that?
Partially correct, that's true.
Well, I'm never wholly correct. Can you tell me, can you make me wholly correct?
If you wish to speak, could you please come up, sir? That way we can capture it on that. I believe the other reason was because all the existing houses in that stretch of road are pretty consistent in the size of the lots. And adding the 5 new ones in that are consistent with those would keep the consistent appearance of that stretch of the neighborhood. I'm sorry, could you give your name again, please, sir?
Joe Mastronunzio, SMS Associates, 163 Boston Post Road, Waterford. You're partially correct with respect to combining the driveways. Number one, these are only 100-foot wide lots, which is required by the zone. Number two, because the lots require well and septic system, there's no public water or sewer available. There's certain distances that the health department requires for separation of well and septic. And so, like all the existing houses on Sandy Hollow, the wells are in the front yard, the septic's on the rear of the yard, and you have to have a 75-foot separation. And as a consequence to that, you're really limited to where the houses themselves can go, because you're only dealing with 100 feet, and you have side yard setbacks, front yard setbacks, rear yard setbacks, so you have a very small window to work with. And by trying to combine the driveways, you end up creating a more larger impervious surface, because you have to branch off to these driveways and you're pushing the houses closer together, as you said. And it's really inconsistent with what is part of the scenic road there to begin with. All the residents there currently have separate driveways for that exact reason. And so it's what was proposed and what was unanimously approved by the town, by the Planning Commission, was to keep it consistent with what was already there, which is part of the scenic road, showing individual homes with individual driveways. And so that was really the decision, and that went through public hearing and it was approved unanimously in that form.
Councilor Atwater.
This is a moot point, but I seem to recall I was told a couple weeks ago that there was less impervious surface covered with separate driveways than joined driveways, and I didn't understand that, and that's why I asked the question. But my point is, what I really want to speak to is that line 3 of the motion says the proposed driveway, singular. Line 4 says proposed safe sight lines for the driveways, plural. And so we don't have to come back again to change, renovate like new to new. I'd like to see both of those be consistent.
Mr. Byrd, is that just a punctuation thing or a grammar thing that we can change on our own, or do we need to amend this?
I'm only seeing 2 spots in the motion where it says, they both say driveways. Where does it say just driveway?
The third bullet, the proposed driveway.
The third sentence says driveway, at least on my report.
My copy has driveways.
Yeah, as driveway.
Oh, see, I've got it. She must have given me more reason. My copy actually has driveways on the third bullet.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know how that happened.
Mine says just driveway.
Well, if you amend it, I'll second it.
Do you,
Say all amendment.
do you want to move to amend it?
this right here, right? Those driveways.
Yes,
Yeah.
he has it.
Yeah.
What's the, when was yours generated?
It doesn't have anything.
Mine says 10/12. Mine says 10/12/2018, the bottom right.
Was it?
What's yours?
12/14.
Okay. So the most recent one says 12/14. If you want to amend it, go ahead.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to amend the motion to read in the third sentence, the proposed driveways, plural.
Okay, hold on. I got to write that way I can give it to Lisa. Okay, so you're moving to amend by Atwater, seconded by Heed. So we need to vote on the amendment first, and then we vote on the whole motion. So all those in favor of the amendment, which changes proposed driveway to proposed driveways, plural, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? So unanimously. Is there further discussion on the main motion? Seeing none, we will vote on the amended version of 2018-420-3, alteration of a scenic road, Sandy Hollow Road, that just has the addition of an S to the word driveway in the third bullet. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, so moved unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Oh, I'm sorry, wait, I take that back. So 8 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 abstention?
Correct.
Heed? Now, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Good night, sir. All right, give me a minute to catch up, guys. Okay, so this is the amendment, and then this is the main. This is 2018-423. Okay, great. So now we are on to 5D, and I believe this is Councilor Zepari, 2018-419-3, alteration of a scenic road, 1201 River Road, and this is on page 49. Councilor Zepari.
There. Got it.
This one says driveways.
I move to recommend a resolution to approve the alterations to a scenic road, 1201 River Road, for the following reasons. The proposed work does not encroach on the change on or change the width, paving, or grade of River Road. The proposed driveways will not change the character or adversely impact the neighborhood. The proposed driveways will not affect the existing stone walls and mature trees. So moved.
Councilor Perry, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Franco. This is only one driveway.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, I think it's
And this has plural driveways on
Right.
it. So if we move this the way it is with driveways, that does not entitle the gentleman to add in more driveways, correct?
No, and the planning department will make sure the
I
resolution
make a
reads
motion, we
correctly.
amend the motion to read driveway and not
Okay.
driveways.
Counselor Atwater makes a motion, hold on, please. Counselor Atwater makes a motion to amend the third and fourth bullet to take it from plural to singular.
Second.
Okay, hold on, I'm writing. This is like finance committee again. Okay, moved by Atwater and somebody down here seconded. Parker seconded. Okay, so we will vote on the amendment first, which is to change the third and fourth bullets, the word driveways to driveway, singular. All those in favor of the amendment, changing it from plural to singular, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? So the amendment is passed. So now it reads the proposed driveway will not change, the proposed driveway will not affect. Discussion on the main motion. Seeing none, we will vote on the main motion, which is 2018-419-3, alteration of a scenic road, 1201 River Road. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? So moved unanimously, and I need a minute to record that. So this is the amendment. This is the main motion. Okay, we are now on to 5F, 2018-86-5 Blight Ordinance Amendment, and this is on page 77, and I believe we're back to Councilor Baumgartner, correct?
I move we recommend a resolution to adopt the revisions to the blight ordinance number 281 as presented to the Town Council on December 4th, 2018. So moved.
Second.
Moved by Baumgartner and seconded by Franco. Mr. Reiner is here if you guys have questions. Mr. Byrd is here if you have questions. Do we have questions?
Can I make a comment?
You may. Councilor Aubrey.
I just wanted to say that I appreciated the time that the town planner put into this, and I still had some concerns, and we met, and I think at this point, we really got it together, hopefully, so it will be very beneficial to the town.
Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of 2018-86-5 blight ordinance amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? So moved unanimously. 5G, 2018-571 Town Council Personnel and Appointments 2019 meeting calendar. This is on page 99, and we are at Councilor Parker, please.
I make a motion to recommend a resolution for approval of the Town Council Personnel and Appointments regular meeting schedule for 2019 as attached. Shall I read them?
I don't think we need to. Councilor Atwood, are any problems with the dates? You've caught them last time. Are we all
I
good?
didn't see any this time.
We're all in the right year? Councilor Heed, this is your committee. Do you have any questions or comments on it?
These all look good to me.
Did someone second?
No one seconded yet. Seconded by Parker, moved by Parker, seconded by Heed. Any issues with it?
No, it's perfect.
Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of 2018-571 Town Council Personnel and Appointments 2019 meeting calendar, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? So moved unanimously. And would you read this, please? We are on to 2018-560 Town Manager Performance Review, potential executive session, and this will be page 101. Councilor Heed, please.
I hereby move that the members of the Town Council Committee of the Whole and Town Manager John Burt go into executive session pursuant to General Statute, Section 1-206A, concerning the appointment, employment, performance evaluation, health, or dismissal of a public officer and employee in regards to the Town Manager. I so move.
Second.
Moved by Heed, seconded by Franco. All those in favor of going into executive session for the Town Manager Performance Review, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? We are in executive session at 7:38. We are out of executive session at 8:53. We have one item here. Councilor Aubrey, if you could read that, please.
Motion for manager's contract. I hereby move to recommend to the full council to make changes to the town manager's contract as discussed in executive session. I so move.
Second.
Moved by Aubrey, seconded by Schmidt. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? So moved unanimously. We are on to review of agenda items. Anything else anyone wants to discuss as far as agenda items? Okay, other business. I forgot to do this under communications. Just Representative Bordelon had made a request regarding the multilingual ballots, and I just wanted everybody to know that instead of having the ballots multilingual, they actually had giant sample ballots posted at each polling place that was in both English, and there was one that was in Spanish, and it was there at each place in case people needed to have that. So it was a very responsive move from our registrar. So thank you, registrars, for getting that together so quickly for us. Any other business? Yes, please.
I'm just going to mention the Human Services tour on Thursday from
Thank you.
5 to 5:30. Right now, we've only got 2 RTM members and 1 council member signed up, so I'm just going to remind you of that.
Thank you. Sorry. Anything else? Councilor Atwater.
Some time ago, we had a representative from the Noank Community Gardens come in and speak to us, and I believe Councilor Franco asked that she had more questions, and I certainly have more questions. I'm wondering if we can put that back on the agenda for the January meeting. I don't know what meeting it should go under, but
Would you want them just for your discussions first before inviting them, or would you want them invited? I will say we have our 2 cows in January are really packed. We've already got a ton of stuff on them.
What I have to recommend doesn't require them to be here, but that's...
Okay. I will say, though, that I was asked last time, are they bound by FOIA or not? Our attorney had talked, had kind of reviewed it, talked with the Freedom of Information Act Commission staff, Tom Hennick, and they do believe, it's a little bit tentative, but they believe, yes, they should follow FOIA on all their meetings.
So Mr. Bird has told us that our agendas for our 2 cows are pretty crowded. Do we want to add this on? What's the pleasure of the council? Do we want to add it on in January anyhow? Or do you want to wait till February?
I've got nothing on either of the February ones yet.
What's your pleasure?
Let's go with
February for me.
February? Is that acceptable?
Very good.
So first count February, Noank Public Garden discussion. Is that okay? Any other business?
Just one other item.
Yes.
Oh gosh, it wasn't prepared. There was a section that we had asked to have changed in the hiring process. Remember, what the heck were we discussing?
Was it procurement policy?
Yes.
Okay.
I touched base with Cindy on that today. It's for local bid preference. Eileen Cardillo, our purchasing agent, has compiled what she could find from all the other municipalities. Cindy's reviewing that today. She's supposed to bring it to me, or tomorrow. She's planning on reviewing it. She's going to bring it to me. We have a Thursday weekly meeting, Cindy and I. She's going to bring me the report so I can look it over, and then my hope was to actually send it out to you Friday so you can see what other towns are doing.
That's
I don't
all right.
know if I'll have an
That's all right.
official recommendation at that point, but
As
so
long
you
as
can see.
we're working on it, it's not like urgent, but I don't want it to
I
get
expect
lost.
something for you on Friday.
That's all right.
Councilor Atwater.
I guess I'd like to make an informal proclamation that since this is our last meeting of 2018, and since, whereas this is our last meeting, you have to get those whereas. And whereas the holidays are coming, I'd like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
I second that.
And we do it to all of the town of Groton and the
Yes.
city of Groton.
That's everybody. Excellent.
Okay.
Yes.
Piece of communication.
Yes,
I'll send
please.
out details, but the Bill Memorial Library contacted me, John Reiner and Paige Bronk, to come and they call it, like community cafe on certain Saturday mornings before they open an hour early. And then they want to talk about projects in the city, school projects. And I invited Mayor Hedrick to join too, and he's going to join too. So it's going to be the 4 of us on February 2nd. I forget if it's at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, but I'll send you details once I have that.
That's a
Groundhog Day.
Saturday, right?
Saturday, yes. They'll send out a flyer. They'll put out a flyer though as we get closer to it.
Excellent. Okay, anything else? Nothing else? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
Moved by Parker, seconded by Schmidt. All those in favor of adjournment say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, so moved unanimously. We are adjourned at 9:01.